My wife said, "You're back early," like I hadn't just heard her on the deck laughing about how she snuck out during my dad's funeral to hook up with the main one. I kissed her and said, "Yeah." Trip got canceled. I was supposed to be in Nashville with my buddies that weekend. We'd planned it for months, hiking, bars, maybe some fishing. But last minute, my friend Josh got food poisoning and the trip fell apart. So I figured, why not head home early and surprise Heather? Maybe take her out to dinner, make a night of it. I thought she'd be happy to see me. My name's Ben. I'm 33, and I live just outside Charlotte, North Carolina. Been married to Heather for 6 years. No kids yet, just us and our golden retriever, Tank. It was late afternoon when I pulled into our driveway. Her car was already there, which surprised me. She wasn't expecting me until Sunday night. I figured I'd sneak in, grab some flowers from the grocery store down the street, maybe even clean the kitchen before she noticed. Something small to make her smile. But before I even got the key in the front door, I heard them. Laughter. Loud, drunken, carefree. It was coming from the back deck. I froze. Slid my key back into my pocket. The blinds were cracked just enough to see a bottle of wine on the patio table and a few glasses. I didn't recognize the other voices at first, just a blur of giggles and slurred jokes. I stepped around the side of the house and crouched behind the fence near the deck stairs. I wasn't trying to be creepy. Something felt off. The tone of it. The way they laughed. Then I heard her voice. "Heather." Oh my God. And he still has no clue. None. She laughed so hard she nearly snorted. "What about that guy? What's his name?" "Sutton," one of her friends asked. Heather's voice dropped to that secret-sharing tone. "Girl. Sutton's the main one. That's been going on since, what? The second year we were married." There was a chorus of gasps, followed by someone saying, "No way. Ben has no idea?" Heather laughed again. "He thinks Sutton's just some guy from the other office." Meanwhile, he was blowing up my phone while Ben was at his dad's funeral. I literally snuck out for 30 minutes to meet up with him in the parking lot of the freaking church. I think my heart stopped. My legs gave out, and I had to grab onto the fence to stay upright. My ears were ringing. I wasn't even sure if I was breathing. I just stood there, staring at the grass, trying not to throw up. They kept talking, drunk, careless, happy to rip apart everything I thought was real. I couldn't listen anymore. I backed away slowly, got in my truck, drove without even knowing where I was going until I ended up in the parking lot of the old baseball stadium off 74. I sat there for a while in silence, Tank's leash still on the passenger seat like it meant something. Then I called Daryl, my best friend since college. "Hey," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Can I crash at your place tonight?" He didn't ask questions. Just said, "Yeah, man. I'll leave the door unlocked." I didn't cry. Not then. I was too numb. All I knew was that everything had just changed. Forever. Daryl didn't say much when I walked in. He just gave me a nod from the couch, slid the remote off the cushion next to him, and motioned for me to sit. I dropped down like someone had taken the bones out of me. "You want a beer?" he asked. "No. Just need to sit." For a while, we didn't talk. The game was on, but I didn't see a second of it. My mind was running wild with pieces I didn't know how to fit together. Heather's laugh, the way she said main one, the image of her sneaking out during my dad's funeral like it was no big deal. Eventually, I told Daryl everything. From the moment I pulled up to the house to what I heard behind the deck. He didn't say, "I told you so," though I could tell he was biting his tongue. Instead, he leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "You gonna confront her?" he asked. "Not yet." My voice cracked a little. "I need to be smart." He nodded. "Good. No rash moves. Get proof. Make sure you've got everything you need. This ain't the kind of thing you react to, it's the kind of thing you plan for." I stayed on his couch that night, didn't sleep more than a couple hours. Every time I closed my eyes, I'd see Heather's face from our wedding day, or hear her voice laughing with her friends like I was some clueless idiot. She didn't just cheat. She turned it into entertainment. The next morning, I made coffee but didn't drink it. Just sat there holding the mug like it might warm something inside me. I kept thinking back on moments, random stuff from the past couple of years that now screamed at me. Like the time she suddenly had to travel for work the weekend of our anniversary, and her phone died all Saturday. Or the charges I saw once from a hotel downtown, which she said were for a team offsite. I'd believed her. Why wouldn't I? She looked me straight in the eye. Or how she started getting distant, physically and emotionally. Her excuses about being tired, about needing space. All while I was doing everything I could to keep us connected. Date nights, little surprises, weekend getaways, she always found a reason to cancel. It was all right there. I just never saw it. Because I trusted her. Because I never imagined she'd be the kind of person who could fake a whole marriage while sneaking around with someone like Sutton. During my dad's funeral, for Christ's sake. That detail, it gutted me every time I thought about it. Daryl came in mid-morning and sat across from me. "You gonna be all right?" he asked. I nodded slowly. "Yeah, but not today." He didn't push. Just said, Whatever you need, man. You're not doing this alone. And in that moment, something shifted. I didn't know exactly what I was going to do yet, but I knew one thing for sure. I wasn't going to let her get away with it. By Monday morning, I had a plan. I went home like nothing happened. Heather was in the kitchen scrambling eggs like she hadn't shattered my world 2 days earlier. She smiled when she saw me walk in, like I was a surprise she actually wanted. "You're back early," she said, wiping her hands on a towel. "Everything okay?" "Yeah," I lied. "Josh got sick. Trip didn't happen." "Oh no. Is he all right?" "Food poisoning. He'll live." She bought it. Just like that. No suspicion, no hesitation. That almost pissed me off more than anything. I wondered how many other lies she'd swallowed just as easily, maybe even told herself. From then on, I played the part of the clueless husband. I smiled. I kissed her goodnight. I took out the trash. I asked about her day. And every time she looked me in the eye, I could feel something inside me hardening. But behind the scenes, I was digging. The first real break came a few days later when she got home late from book club. She showered like always, left her phone charging on the nightstand. I waited until I heard the water turn on, then I slid her phone into my hand. She hadn't changed the passcode. Still the same 4-digit combo, our old apartment number from years back. 1207. Within 30 seconds, I had all the proof I needed. The texts from Sutton weren't just flirtatious. They were graphic. Sickening. Photos, too, both of them, laughing in hotel mirrors, laying on a bed I didn't recognize, her wearing lingerie I never saw in our house. There were messages from other names, too. Not just Sutton. It wasn't one affair. It was a pattern. And she'd kept them all. Like trophies. I sent them to myself. Every screenshot, every image, every receipt from shady hotel meetups and late-night Uber rides. I cataloged the timeline, built a file on my laptop, and backed it up in 2 places. By the end of the week, I had enough evidence to blow her world to pieces. But I wasn't ready. Not yet. I made an appointment with a divorce lawyer, a guy named Stuart down in Huntersville that Daryl recommended. Older guy, calm voice, no nonsense. I sat across from him in a little office that smelled like old books and coffee. "You've done the right thing," Stuart said after flipping through my file. "You've already got more documentation than most guys think to gather. That gives you leverage. Now we talk strategy." He walked me through everything: joint accounts, property, what to expect, what not to say. "Keep pretending nothing's wrong," he told me. "Keep the mask on. Let her think she's safe. The more relaxed she is, the more careless she'll be." I walked out of that office with a folder full of advice and a cold, focused calm I hadn't felt in weeks. Back at home, Heather greeted me with a kiss and asked if I wanted lasagna for dinner. I smiled. "Sure. Sounds great." And inside, I thought, keep smiling, Heather. Smile while you can. Because soon, I'm going to burn it all down. A week after I checked her phone, Heather started acting different. Not just slightly nicer or a little more attentive. It was full-on sitcom wife mode. Morning coffee waiting for me, fresh towels in the bathroom, homemade dinners with candles, and my favorite Spotify playlist humming in the background. She even made pot roast on a Tuesday night. "I remembered it's your favorite," she said, setting my plate down with a proud little smile. "Figured you could use some comfort food." I looked at her. Really looked at her. Her eyes were searching my face like she wanted approval. Or maybe reassurance that I hadn't seen through her yet. I smiled. "Thanks, babe. Smells great." Inside, I wanted to flip the damn plate across the room. But I didn't. I kept playing the part. Every touch of hers felt like a lie now. When she sat close on the couch, when she reached for my hand, when she leaned in to kiss me while the movie played in the background, all I could think about were the texts she sent Sutton from that same spot. I remembered one in particular. "He's sitting right next to me watching Netflix and has no idea I had Sutton earlier today." Now every kiss felt like a dare. Every gesture of affection felt like her way of rewriting the past. One night, she initiated sex. We hadn't been intimate in weeks before that, and suddenly she was all over me, pulling me toward the bedroom like it was our honeymoon. I let her. Not because I wanted to. Because I wanted her to feel safe. Comfortable. Untouchable. The guilt had clearly crept in, but it wasn't enough to stop her. Just enough to make her try harder to win my trust again. To paper over the cracks. Classic cheater behavior. I knew it. Daryl knew it. Even Stuart, my lawyer, had warned me. "They'll try to fake redemption before they know they're caught," he'd said. "It's like a sixth sense. Keep pretending." So I did. I told her the lasagna was perfect. I told her the sex was amazing. I told her I'd been thinking about taking a vacation together in the fall, just the 2 of us. Her eyes lit up at that one. "Seriously? Yeah, maybe Charleston. Somewhere nice." She wrapped her arms around me and kissed me hard. "I love you," she whispered. I swallowed the bile in my throat. "I love you too." But as I stood in the shower that night, water pounding my back, I realized something else. I wasn't just surviving this anymore. I was in control. I was playing the long game, and she had no idea. While she kissed me goodnight, I was compiling new screenshots. While she planned future getaways, I was draining half our joint account into a separate savings fund, one Stuart set up just for me. Every day, she gave me more rope. And when the time came, I'd be the one to pull it. Once I had the evidence and the legal prep done, I turned to something Heather had always cared a little too much about: appearances. See, Heather lived for social validation. Every brunch was a photo op, every holiday a highlight reel. Her Instagram was a curated masterpiece: golden hour selfies, candid shots of us laughing over cocktails, carefully filtered pictures of our living room with a caption like "grateful for our little slice of heaven." She painted us as the perfect couple. But now, I had the truth, and I was going to weaponize it. I didn't start with a big announcement. That's not how you do damage. You seed doubt first. So I started small. A couple subtle conversations with friends in our circle, couples we'd had over for dinner, folks we'd done double dates with. Casual stuff. I'd mention how Heather and I were going through a rough patch, or that I was starting to realize I didn't know her as well as I thought. The words weren't dramatic, but the tone carried weight. People hear things like that and they start looking closer. They remember weird moments. They piece things together. I also started collecting her social posts. Screenshots, timestamps, locations. I matched them to the text she sent Sutton, like the one where she posted a photo of us at a winery with the caption, "Love my husband," while also texting Sutton later that night, "You taste better than the rose." She was a master of the double life, but I was becoming a master of the reveal. One night, I scrolled through everything I had, the texts, the photos, the receipts, and put it all into a single folder. I called it the nuclear file, labeled it right there on my desktop, because when I dropped it, nothing was going to survive. Then I made my next move. I reached out to Sutton's wife. Her name was Laura. I'd only met her once in passing, but I found her Instagram easily. I sent a message that said, "Hi Laura, I think we need to talk. I have information you'll want to see. This is about your husband and mine." She replied within an hour. Polite, curious, guarded. I didn't send anything over DM. I got her phone number and gave her a call from a burner app, just in case. I didn't need Heather tracing anything back before I was ready. I kept my tone calm, told her what I'd found, told her I had proof, and I'd send her everything. There was silence on the line, then a long exhale. "I knew something was wrong," she said quietly. "I just didn't want to believe it." We talked for almost an hour. I promised to send her the full folder the week after next. "Why wait?" she asked. "Timing," I said. "Trust me, you'll see." Because this wasn't just about catching Heather. It was about taking everything she had carefully built, her social image, her curated life, her spotless reputation, and peeling it back layer by layer until everyone saw what she really was. By the time I was done planting the seeds, I wasn't just ready to expose her. I was looking forward to it. Heather's big client event was on a Thursday. She'd been planning it for months, some launch party for a tech firm she'd recently landed. Her first big independent project after breaking off from her old job. She rented out a rooftop venue uptown, arranged everything from designer hors d'oeuvres to signature cocktails with the company's logo printed on the ice cubes. Real fancy stuff. It was her night. The night she wanted to prove to everyone that she was powerful, put together, and, of course, happily married. Which is why I picked that exact day to detonate everything. I woke up early and made coffee like always. Heather was pacing around the kitchen in heels, double-checking her checklist. Hair curled, makeup already half done. "You coming tonight?" she asked, not even looking at me. "Yeah, I'll meet you there," I said. "Still have a few things to finish up at work." She nodded. "Cool. You being there means a lot. You know that, right?" I looked at her, really looked at her, and said, "Of course. Wouldn't miss it." She kissed my cheek and left with her laptop bag swinging behind her. Tank followed her to the door like always. I waited exactly 1 hour. Then I made the calls. First, I sent the full nuclear file to Laura, Sutton's wife, through a secure file sharing link. Along with a note, "Today's the day. I figured you deserve to see everything before it goes public." Then I used a courier service to deliver a physical copy of the file to Heather's parents. Printed out, tabbed, and indexed. Neatly wrapped in a white envelope that said, "Read before tonight's event." I sent another copy to the HR department of Sutton's company. No explanation, just evidence. And finally, I posted a timed email to go out at 6:30 p.m., right in the middle of Heather's cocktail hour, addressed to her entire client list, her work colleagues, and her 2 closest friends. Subject line, "Not who you think she is." Inside, a short paragraph and a link to the evidence. Texts, photos, timeline, receipts, and a final line that said, "I stayed quiet long enough." Then I got in my car, drove to a coffee shop, and waited. My phone didn't start blowing up until a little after 6. First, a call from Heather. I ignored it. Then a flood of texts. "Heather, Ben? What the hell did you do? Heather, are you kidding me? This isn't funny. Heather, answer me now." I sipped my drink. Then a message from Laura. Laura, he's denying everything. Until I showed him your screenshots. Laura, he's packing a bag. I'm done. Thank you. By 7:30, Heather had called me 11 times. A friend of mine who worked security in the same building as the rooftop venue texted me. Friend, you weren't kidding about making a scene. She's crying in the hallway. Sutton got kicked out. Someone called building security. It's chaos up there. I watched the sun dip below the skyline and felt peaceful. Heather had spent years building a fake life. A perfect marriage. A pristine career. And in one day, it all started falling apart. I didn't answer her calls. I didn't respond to her texts. I just sat in my car, listening to music, watching the world spin, and knowing that this time, finally, she didn't get to control the story. I did. Heather got home around 9:45 p.m. I was already there, sitting at the kitchen table, calm as a lake. Tank was asleep by my feet. I'd left the porch light on, like always. Just another normal night. Except it wasn't. She came through the door like a storm, high heels in one hand, mascara streaked down her cheeks, hair pulled back in a messy bun that still had pins falling out. You ruined my life, she said, her voice low and shaky. I didn't say anything, just looked at her. She dropped her heels by the door and marched in. You think that was fair? Ambushing me like that? At my event, I stood up slowly, walked over to the side table, and picked up a manila envelope. Calm, measured, just like my lawyer told me. I think this is fair, I said, holding it out. Divorce papers. Her mouth opened, but nothing came out. She stared at the envelope like it was radioactive. I could see her chest rising and falling faster now. Panic kicking in. You already filed? She whispered. I nodded. Everything's in motion. You'll get served officially tomorrow, but I thought I'd save you the surprise. Ben, please, she said, stepping closer, voice dropping into that fake softness she used when she wanted something. You didn't have to do it like this. We could have talked. No, I cut her off. You don't get to say we anymore. She blinked, then tried a different tactic. It was a mistake. I made some bad choices, but we can work through this. You cheated for years, Heather, I snapped, finally letting a little heat slip into my voice. Years. Multiple people. During my dad's funeral. She went silent. Do you know what kind of person you have to be to do that? I asked. To sneak out while your husband is grieving his father, so you can hook up in a parking lot? She flinched. You weren't just unfaithful. You were cruel. And you didn't just lie to me. You laughed about it. With your friends. Like I was a joke. Her face twisted. I was drunk. Stop, I said sharply. You don't get to excuse it. You knew exactly what you were doing. I walked over to the counter, opened the drawer, and pulled out a second folder. This is your financial breakdown, I said, placing it on the table. What you're walking away with. What you're not. She looked at the spreadsheet and paled. Wait, why is everything in your name? Because I've been preparing, I said. Ever since that night I came home early. She stared at me like I just kicked her. Do you remember that? I asked. The night you and your friends got drunk and talked about Sutton on the back deck? Her mouth parted, and I saw the exact second the memory clicked. Oh my God, she whispered. You heard us. All of it. She stepped back like I'd slapped her. Ben, please. I didn't mean for this to happen. You meant all of it, I said. Every lie. Every night. Every fake smile. You meant it. She sank into a chair, hands shaking as she flipped through the documents. I'll lose everything. I nodded. Pretty much. Her eyes welled up. So that's it. After all these years. Yeah, I said, heading toward the door. That's it. Where are you going? I moved out 2 days ago. Everything's already gone. Tank's staying with me. She didn't answer. Just sat there, breathing hard, staring down at the papers that spelled out the cost of her choices. I opened the door, paused, and said, You built your whole life on a lie, Heather. I just tore off the wrapping paper. And then I walked out. In the weeks that followed, Heather's life fell apart piece by piece. I didn't check in on her. Didn't ask mutual friends for updates. But the information still found its way to me. Her client dropped the entire account 2 days after the event. Turns out, professional circles talk. Once Laura exposed Sutton, and her firm learned what was going on behind the scenes, the whole launch deal collapsed. And Sutton? He got fired and moved out of the apartment he shared with his wife. She kicked him to the curb the same night I sent the file. Heather tried to spin it. Online, at least. Her Instagram stayed active, posting vague quotes about growth and embracing change. But the photos stopped showing smiles. No more sunny brunches or perfect outfits. Just solo selfies and captions that tried too hard. Behind the screen, people weren't buying it. Her comments went quiet. A few of her besties unfollowed her completely. Her parents were the next to distance themselves. I know because her dad called me. Ben, he said one afternoon, his voice tired. I got the file you sent. I don't even have the words. You don't have to, I told him. She lied to us, too, he said. We thought she had this perfect life. I didn't know she was capable of something like this. I didn't respond. There wasn't much to say. I didn't want revenge. I wanted freedom. And now, I finally had it. I moved into a small apartment across town. Nothing fancy, just a clean space with big windows, a quiet kitchen, and enough room for me and Tank. The first few mornings felt strange. Waking up alone, no sound of a hairdryer or her coffee grinder going off before work. Just silence. But that silence started to feel like peace. I got back into work. Put my head down. Reconnected with Daryl and some old friends I hadn't talked to in a while. People who actually gave a damn. I started seeing a therapist. At first, it felt weird talking to a stranger about things I'd buried. But over time, it helped. I realized how much I had normalized being treated like a placeholder. A loyal idiot in the background of someone else's show. I started sleeping better. Eating better. Taking long walks with Tank in the evenings. One night, I took a drive into the mountains, something I'd talked about for years but never did. I parked at an overlook, sat on the hood of my truck, and watched the sun dip below the ridge in silence. And I smiled. It wasn't big or cinematic. Just quiet. Real. About 2 months later, Daryl introduced me to someone. Her name was Paige. Nothing serious, just coffee at first. She was easy to talk to, didn't ask about Heather. She didn't flinch when I said I was recently separated. She just nodded and said, "Yeah, life's messy. Coffee helps." We've been on a few dates since then. Nothing I'm rushing into. I'm not in a place where I trust easily, not yet, but I'm getting there. One evening, I told her the basics. She listened without trying to fix anything. Then she looked at me and said, "Sounds like you lost something heavy you were never meant to carry." And I swear, that hit harder than any therapy session. She was right. Heather was never my forever. She was a chapter. One I held on to too long. But that chapter's done now. And for the first time in a long time, I'm not bitter. I'm just moving forward. Not fast. Not perfectly. But finally, in the right direction. It had been 6 months since everything went down when I saw her again. I was at Home Depot on a Saturday afternoon, picking up some lumber for a shelving project I'd been putting off. The weather was nice. People were milling around with carts full of mulch and patio furniture. It was just another normal day. And then there she was, pushing a cart with a half-dead ficus and a broken mop handle hanging over the edge. Heather. We locked eyes at the same time. She froze, one hand on the cart, like she wasn't sure whether to keep walking or pretend she didn't see me. I stood there for a second, then gave her a small nod. Not friendly, not cold, just neutral. She came over. "Hey," she said quietly. "Hey." She looked different. Less polished. More tired. Her makeup was minimal, her hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. The kind of look she never would have left the house in before. She glanced at my cart like she needed something to focus on. "Building something?" she asked. "Just shelves." She nodded slowly. "You always were good with your hands." We stood in that awkward silence for a beat too long. Then she cleared her throat. I just wanted to say I'm sorry," she said, her voice cracking slightly. "For everything. I've been going to therapy, trying to figure out why I did what I did." I didn't respond right away. Not because I was angry, I wasn't. Not anymore. I just had nothing to offer her. "I hurt you." "I know that," she said, looking at her shoes. "I don't expect forgiveness. But I needed you to know I don't blame you for how it all ended. I deserved it." "I know," I said, quietly. She looked up then, surprised. Maybe expecting more. A question. A jab. Something. But I had nothing else to say. She let out a breath. "I'm moving to Chicago next month. New job, new place. Thought a fresh start might help." I nodded. "Hope it does." Another silence. Then she gave a small, tight smile. "You look good, by the way." "Happier." "I am," I said. And I meant it. She swallowed and gave me one last look. "Take care of yourself, Ben." "You too." She turned and walked away, disappearing down the gardening aisle. I stood there for a moment, hand resting on the cart handle, just breathing. I waited for some kind of emotion to rise, sadness, anger, nostalgia, but there was nothing. No heat in my chest. No lump in my throat. Just the calm realization that she didn't mean anything to me anymore. She was just someone I used to know. Someone I once loved. Someone who broke me. And someone I no longer needed to carry with me. I paid for the lumber, drove home, and got to work on the shelves. As I measured the wood and marked the cuts, I thought about how far I'd come. Not just from Heather, but from the version of me who thought love meant tolerating anything. That man was gone. This one? He was building something real quietly, piece by piece. And this time, it was only for me.